Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be having a more in-depth look on the fighter class, and without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so this is a slide I already showed to you guys in my last video, but we're just going to breeze through them. So fighter class is a class that's suitable as a forward guard. He has high attack power and vitality, specialized purely in physical attacks, and can use the most variety type of equipment in the game. So they're suitable to be either one-hand fighter plus shield or two-hander. They have the highest damage per hit potential due to their skill set. So they're the most suitable class to be optimizing opening and slipping enemies hit. And they can also actually play as a rear guard attacker if you give them a bow or spear. So their focus stats are strength, speed, dexterity, luck, and the derivative stats are attack power, shooting, accuracy, and action speed. Okay, so for the info, okay, they can equip almost any equipment. Again, already covered that. Best user of two-handed weapons because of their skill set. Also already covered that. And number 3, they also have considerably higher accuracy as a physical attacker, well compared to knight. Anyway, so I'll show you from my elites here. My elites have 73 accuracy, and my knight Lanaville only have 44 accuracy. And I'm not sure if they have any accuracy buffing on the equipment. No, Lana don't have. And Elise,
what is it? You need
16 accuracy here. Yep. So just one equipment that rolls accuracy, and basically give or take, they have like 1.5 times the amount of accuracy compared to knights. And then you can inflict defense debuff on the enemy using armor break. And also something that I need to highlight, even if you class change anybody to be a fighter or mage or fighter or priest hybrid, they typically have quite low MP, so it's not really suitable for spellcasting. Okay, up next skills. Okay, just a heads up, most of the active and passive skills are common according to the classes. So as you can see from this table here, whatever is available on a fighter will be the same to every other fighter as well. And this also includes what level they unlock. So technically there's no variation at all, except maybe if that character has a unique skill. So just a heads up. Okay, anyway, active skills. Number 1, heavy attack, a skill that you learn at level 4. It inflicts moderate physical attack with high accuracy on one enemy. So basically just a stronger attack. Armor break, minor physical attack on one enemy and chance to decrease defense power based on the user's dexterity. We don't really have an exact number yet on this skill, so we're not really sure how effective it is at the moment. Warrior's Battle Cry, increase own attack power and decrease defense power for 4 turn. And if I'm not mistaken, you can actually override the debuff of this low defense by buffing the defense on your character. So in a way, you can increase attack power and then have the defense decrease, and then have your priest cast your defense buff to overcome this. I'll do some testing later, and then maybe insert a clip in the video.
I shall lead.
I must endure!
Not today.
I am ready.
I will heal thy wounds. Blessing of Agora.
my friend.
And then finally we have Wild Strike. This inflicts major physical attack on one enemy. Afterward, your own action speed is reduced. Okay, something you need to know about action speed. is that there's two components for action speed. One is action speed itself. One is wait time. There's no indicator for wait time or in this character stat
What is
sheet.
it?
But
You need to
basically,
go in the
wait
air?
time is something that allows your character to actually either go twice in a what we call a single turn. If your wait time is basically short enough, or if it's long enough. Let's say if you inflict an enemy with slow, they can also like maybe only move like every 1.5 turn of your team. So the good thing about Wild Strike is if your character doesn't have any action speed anyway, he or she has very low attack speed. So technically, you don't really suffer the debuff from Wild Strike per se, because action speed only dictates your turn order in a single turn. So if your speed is low enough that you're running last anyway, so Wild Strike doesn't really have any downside. And also something that's not really mentioned, Wild Strike only hit once, even if you're using a weapon that can hit twice, for example a one-handed sword or dagger. Okay, up next is the passive skill for a fighter. So at level 1, the character will have its own unique skill. This is basically something that's available to every class. Unique skill is something
is it?
that's
You need to go
available
in
to the
there?
character immediately. So for example, my Elise have impartial collaborator, and it cannot be increased with any level. So it's the effect is unique, and it also does not scale at all. Then we have passive HP up fighter. So HP up, this is pretty self-explanatory. Attack power up, accuracy up. Then we have counter attack. Counter attack says chance to counter attack when evading a close range attack. This is affected by luck, and it also only applies to close or mid-range weapon. Mid-range weapons meaning spears. So this is why luck is part of the important stats for fighters. But again, unfortunately, at this stage of the game, we don't really have a specific number to assign, like how much luck effects to the percentage of it occurring. Then we have follow-up attack. Chance to increase attack rate during normal attacks, also affected by luck. So basically, attack rate is basically how many times you attack. So this is why it's good for fighters to wield high damaging weapons instead of one-handed sword or dagger, because one-handed sword attacks twice, and if follow-up attack triggers, it attacks twice. So there's only one additional attack. But if these skills activate when your character is holding a big bulky weapon like a 200x, the 200x will basically attack twice. So it scales way better for heavy hitting weapons. Then we have Way of the Warrior. Increase close range damage when equipped with close or mid-range weapon. So this is why fighter is very strong when inflicting physical attack damage with weapons, because again, we don't have an exact number, but the modifier is very significant. You will feel that power spike when you gain this skill compared to before, and this will make your fighter pull ahead of your knight much more when doing any type of physical attacks. Then Will to Fight increases accuracy, evasion and shooting when HP is below a certain level. At the moment, this is not really something that you want to play around, because if not mistaken, this only activates when your HP turns red. That is when your HP becomes critical. But this is probably something that if you want to build around, is something that you definitely want to build around as an evasion fighter. But also, it's kinda an RNG playstyle. Maybe if you can get your evasion to somewhere around, I don't know, 100, 120 plus, maybe it's something that you can consider. Anyway, for defense fighter, this is not really something you want to play around with. And then finally we have discipline skill. Let's say for example, my Elise have discipline level 2, so she has Old Warriors teaching that says continuously increase each stat. Accuracy and defense power is increased further. This means that accuracy and defense power is increased higher than other stats. If you can see here from the character stats, everything else increases by 2 roughly, but my defense and my accuracy increases by +4 and +6, so it's much higher compared to the rest of the stats. So just something I need to cover also. Okay, next we have the characters available for this stage of the game for fighters. First we have Geralt. Geralt is the legendary adventurer for fighter, and on the table you can see the third column specifies alignment, attribute, and race. So alignment is good, neutral, or evil. Then we have strength, IQ, piety, vitality, dexterity, speed, and luck. The base stats of this character. And the last column is class change. Not really something that we want to be focusing on because of its RNG element. So again, for fighters, typically what's important are the strength, the dexterity for accuracy, and maybe a little bit of luck. And you can see most of the stat spread is actually dependent on the race of the character. And characters like Dwarf, for example Geralt and Benjamin, has very high strength, so they're very suitable as an attacker. High vitality, so a defense-based fighter technically, and high dexterity, but they don't have very much luck, so that's their characteristic. Again, most stat spread is highly dependent on what race the character is. Okay. Next is what skill is available for each character. This is the skills explanation for each character. Again, I've tried to shorten the effect so that it's much more readable and easier to compare. So, for example, Geralt, we have, because Geralt is a legendary adventurer, so they typically have one extra unique skills. So Geralt have number 1, branded hands, that is plus accuracy when wielding two-handed weapons. Number 2, eruption strike. This is an active skill that deals moderate physical physical attack, and it increases the damage is higher if you and the accuracy and damage is higher if you're using two-handed blunt weapon. And then discipline is basically again what you do with the copy of the same character, and inside the bracket, for example, Geralt has shooty and attack power is the focus stats for that particular discipline. And then finally, inherit is something that you can learn on any character if you consume that particular character inside the training room. So that's how to read the table in front of you. And then finally, we're going to move on to the most notable fighters in the pool, in my opinion anyway. Okay, so number 1 we have Geralt. Geralt has good stat spread for being a dwarf, and he has good skill and good discipline, because his skill right here, eruption strike, the SP cost is quite high, but the damage inflicted if you use this eruption strike, although it's a moderate fire type, moderate damage, same with heavy attack, but the damage boost if you're using 200 blunt weapons, I believe it's comparable to maybe at least heavy attack level 3 or level 4. So yeah, this is something that's only something I need to highlight. It's also only usable if you're using two-handed blunt weapon, otherwise just use normal heavy attack. And he also has good discipline skill, Fire Demon's Brand, because it increases your shooty and attack power. The cons is that he's slow for being a dwarf, and he basically funnels you into playing only two-handed mace. So other than Geralt, next we have Gandalf. Oh wait, Let me filter everyone else. Okay, Gandolfo has good sustainability because of his skill guard experience that reduce the SP cost of fighter skill that costs 6 SP or less. So in a way, if you want to like proceed through a very long dungeon, Gandolfo is quite good for that because of his SP saving skills, and he also has good discipline because he increases accuracy and shooty. So something that's very welcome for fighters. And something I need to highlight: shooty only based on the character that have consumed their that has raised their discipline skills.
You're nominating me?
Shooty is not something that would increase if you at higher discipline level, unlike other generic stat. So basically Gandolfo has something that's only unique to him, that you can really buff your shooty a lot if you increase this weapon master to very high skill level. But unfortunately he has average stat, so this is because he's a human, so he doesn't particularly excel, but also don't really have a weakness. But this means that some of his stats are kind of wasted on him. Then we have Elise. Elise by stat is not really good because she's an elf, and elf are not really suited to being a fighter, but she has this unique skill, Impartial Collaborator, that increases damage to enemies for user and allies in front or behind if the ally is neutral. This means that if she stays in front, she can buff your mage or priest for their AoE nukes, and this is something that's not really readily available in the game right now. So her buff makes her a very potent choice as a fighter. Then we have Benjamin. Benjamin have good stat spread again for being a dwarf, and then he has good skill also because he has a Slayer based skill, increase damage against magical beasts and decrease damage from magical beasts. This functions for the second dungeon where you fight Lizardman and Sahagin. And he also has good discipline skill where as a level increase, the focus stats is attack and defense powers. Again, something that's very welcome on a fighter. And because he's a dwarf, he's slow, so that's his downside. Then we have Ophelia. Okay, I don't have Ophelia registered yet. And Chloe. I'll go to Chloe first. So Chloe, for being a beastfolk, she has good stat spread, very suitable for a fighter, but unfortunately she has quite an average skill. Her unique skill is increase damage against adventurer and decrease damage against the adventurer. So at this stage of the game, we don't really have much threatening adventurers as an enemy. So not really something you want to be focusing on. And her discipline stat raises SP and resistance, not really something that you really need in a fighter. I'll check Ophelia in a little bit.
Someone you want to register? Certainly.
Wait, filter again.
What's wrong?
Sorry, I need to register. I don't want to register here. Okay, let's go to the table in front. Okay, so Ophelia has good unique skill and discipline skill. We'll go to that in a bit. And she has average stat because she's a human. So again, the same problem with Gandolfo. Okay, going back to the previous slide, Ophelia has unique skill number 1, Eye of the Hunter. She increases damage and accuracy to flying enemies. So again, a Slayer type unique skill. And her discipline gives her increased evasion and attack speed. So because of her discipline skill, she's very suitable to become an evasion based fighter, and probably something that you want to a character that you want to build if you want to
What is it?
utilize will to fight as a something to play around with. And on the screen right now is what characters that can class change to a fighter. Again, their basic stats is something that's tied to the character, and although how to say, although they can class change to a fighter, for now it's best to judge them based on their base character. So this is just something I want to notify people on what other character that can have fighter skills. Generally, the unique skills that they have and the discipline skills that they have makes them really not suitable to do a class change. So yeah, just something I need to highlight. And finally, the tips. Okay, so number one, if you want to build your fighter, focus on maximizing damage. Okay, I'll open my Elise here just to show you guys.
You need
Okay,
me to lend an ear?
build for either defense, heavy armor, or evasion using light armor, but never use clothing because they're usually in the forward guard position. So my Elise has 187 defense power. This is respectable enough for level 40, I believe, and she has 207 attack power. So I built her using using two-handed spear. So she allows me to attack both the front line and the rear line of the enemy. So again, something that's I think is very useful as a physical frontline attacker. And you build either for shoti or no shoti if you're using two-handed blunt weapon. But in most cases, shoti is a welcome stat for any physical attacker. So you either prioritize action speed if you want to have your fighter always be attacking much earlier in the turn order, or you can totally forgo action speed and you can go last and just basically focus on having the biggest hits in your team. For my Elise, because she's an elf, her stat spread makes her have a decent enough speed, so I generally build her to have higher action speed comparatively to other people. Let's say for example, my Elise has 46 action speed and Lana, the knight, only have 28. So yeah. And finally, for personal weapon of choice, my recommendation is to use a dagger if and only if the thief class change is available and the character has basically learned the thief skill set. But otherwise, always be using two-handed weapon. So two-handed spear is my favorite because of the unique range trait on the weapon. And otherwise, I'll be using either two-handed axe and two-handed sword. Two-handed axe has the biggest damage potential in the game, but there's some downside that you need to overcome. Otherwise, if you're not really comfortable or you don't have the equipment yet, you can use two-handed sword as well. Again, the next tips, you need to utilize opening with your fighter as much as possible, because usually you'll build your fighter to be the highest damage dealer for your party. And if you're using spear, you can put your fighter in the rear guard formation so that they can also attack at full capability. And this is something at the current stage of the game, the auto function for the dungeon exploration is not really something that you want to use if you have a balanced party. But fighter is probably the best class you want to build if you want to build an auto team, because the auto function only directs your character to do auto attack. So that's where simple classes like fighter or thief shines the most. In terms of class change, if your character, your fighter has an interchangeable class change with knight or thief, they make good pairing because of what those classes contribute to the physical attack role, and also something that can also be considered. You can bring different weapons for different scenario. So in a way, you can have your fighter bring his two-handed spear, for example, but when the enemy, when there's an opening or the enemy is sleeping, you can change to, for example, your two-handed axe and basically hit the enemy for maximum damage. This is something just you can actually use for your fighter. And that's about it for my in-depth fighter guide. Again, if you guys have any question, I'll be glad to answer them in the comment section down below. And I'm also planning to do this kind of guide for every other classes. So if there's any classes that you want me to specifically cover earlier in the third order, just let me know, and I'll go to that class first. But again, I'm planning to do this kind of guide for every other classes as well. And that's about it. Thank you very much. Bye.